At Reality Check, I'm very big on making sure that we pause, we take consideration before we react on anything. At the time of this recording, there are some very fresh events that have taken place in the world which I think need reflecting on. So this is going to be a very different one. And rather than a breakdown or a discussion of a specific video, I'm going to try and look a little bit deeper in ourselves, and we're going to see if we can find a better way out of the darkness. Welcome to a slightly different Reality Check. The Charlie Kirk killing is something that's actually resonating widely around the world for various reasons. And the polarity of responses to someone being killed are actually very telling of the state of play at the moment. One of the things I'm always big on is trying to see things as they are, but also understanding what led us to get here in the first place. Nothing happens in a vacuum. So when we look at things like a street situation, like an assault that's taking place on the cobbles, a knife attack or an argument, whatever it happens to be, we always see that 30, 45-second video, and we can only go with the information we have there. What we have here, though, is an entire political, socio-economic, and everything that you can think of spectrum backing it up in play. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what transpired. By now, almost everybody knows it, from the mainstream to the unofficial media to social media to everyone just talking about it over the coffee in the morning. Let's not beat around the bush. It was a horrific incident. There's no way people should be getting killed for their political views and their political beliefs simply for stating them. This was an open debate. He was putting himself out there to discuss, people willing to discuss pro and again. Some were for him, some were protesting him. But this was an event where lots of people were gathered to hear him talk, to discuss, to debate in an open and free environment. And ultimately, that's what we want to keep in mind. We're looking at a society where freedom of speech should be valued above everything else. Now, despite the fact there are government measures that seem to be putting in place on a daily basis, not just in the US, but everywhere else, that will actually put limitations on what we can and can't do, is a separate discussion. But what we have is someone that was killed for effectively representing their position. The validity or otherwise of their position is not what's going to be discussed here, any more than the laws that have been put in place by the Democratic lawmaker that was killed at her home, or the two Democratic senators and their wives that were shot in their home. And this is where it becomes significant, because you start to see the tribal divides appear way, way more than the moral stances that people should be taking on these things, or the ethical dilemmas that it actually brings up. For those that are putting the RIPs and a man taken too soon and horrifically murdered, I actually agree with you. He was horrifically murdered, and I always wish people do rest in peace. They leave families behind. But there was no similar outrage or postings from those camps when the other people were killed in a democratic society, freely elected, representing the people on their viewpoint to the best of their ability. So when you start to say, this is political violence, it shouldn't be tolerated, you're right, but you have to apply that to the other side too. And the fact you're now doing this outpouring and you weren't doing that outpouring on something which is arguably even worse because there was more people involved, that's a little troubling. Flip side of the coin, you cannot be celebrating and cheering someone's death simply because you disagree fundamentally with their point of view. I fundamentally disagree with what you're saying, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it, is a maxim that should be tattooed backwards in everyone's arse. We live in a society where we have to be able to speak. Sunlight is the best disinfectant on anyone's opinion. Whatever you stand for, as long as I know what it is and where you're coming from, even if I don't agree, I can then take my position against it. What I can't allow myself to do is let emotion, anger, rage, half-truth, perception dictate and colour my actions. What we're seeing from a lot of the people that are against Charlie is he deserved it. He was a second A guy that said, you know, a few deaths are an acceptable cost for the rights to bear arms. He was another guy that was arguing about don't have empathy, I don't believe it exists. And he was someone else that was decrying what happened to other people when they were attacked, famous for the Pelosi incident. The problem is you can't decry an action and then mirror that action. You cannot act the way you are saying other people should not be acting. But the same principle applies. You cannot say this person was killed for this thing and this thing only, when there's a raft of information behind probably point to exactly why that person was becoming a target. Because when you do put yourself out there, and when you put rhetoric out there which is inflammatory and can be seen as insulting, and can even be seen as damaging to entire communities, there is going to be pushback on that, whether that's left or whether that's right. The reactions to the death in many ways are indicative of where the society is in reaction to the words themselves. Don't react with emotion on this side. Don't react with emotion on this side. The emotion should be the sympathy and the sorrow for a man that is taken as a father and as a husband and as a friend. And it should be a sympathy for his family who's left behind. This should not be used as an excuse to then put targeting, hatred, rhetoric and vile onto the other side. Most of the ones in play have already come out and decried it in the same way when the people got shot in their home, they came out and decried it. Both sides need to come together on this, especially on today's date. The day of filming, we're looking at 9/11. So the day after Charlie got killed, we're now looking at a time when America came together. And I was there in America when this transpired. I was watching it as it happened, and I watched an entire country come together in unity on the basis of a tragic event. Do you want that sense of unity and the day of unification that showed the strength of the people when they're being threatened to be undermined by people using something else tragic for political motivation and political drive? The world right now is on the brink of practically a civil war. America certainly is teetering on that edge. As individuals, we make up that society, and we're at the point now where we cannot stand by passively and endorse or allow or join in with cheering from the sidelines just because it's our side that got the win or the other side that took the loss. We have to be bigger than this. It is not left and right because they're both flying the same bird. We have to make sure that we react with positivity. We react with calmness. We react with a full grasp of circumstances, because if we don't condone the actions, we have to understand what led to the actions. If we don't condone the words and the thoughts, we have to know why the people feel that way. This is how you come to agreement. Day in, day out, we are fed media. We are fed half-truths. We are fed outright lies by politicians, by people that should know better, by people that are pursuing agendas. We are fed these lies, we are fed these half-truths, we are fed these perspectives. But it is up to us if we eat them or not. Take in the information, listen to all sides of the arguments, and look into it, not just to confirm your biases, but to open your mind. Charlie Kirk died because of what he was saying and what he felt and what he believed in. I'm sure he would rather be with us to continue to talk about what was going on. But we cannot take back what was done. What we can do is try to use this as a starting point for a better future for everyone. Because right now, we're on a precipice. And we don't want to jump off, and we don't want to get pushed off. We need to take a step back and go to a place of safety and balance. My thoughts and feelings go out to his family, and my thoughts and feelings go out to everyone that's been affected by this, whatever side of the fence you fall on. There is no space and no place for violence in political discourse. If you cannot win it with words, you cannot win that argument at all. But for every single one of us that is saying you cannot act on his words and go to this level, I want you to consider one question for me. Have you ever said someone had that coming? They shouldn't have said that. Fuck around and find out. Probably. Done it myself. This is why we need to go inside. We need to introvert, because that same balance of judgment that we're putting on people for saying things and then getting punched, kicked, pushed, whatever it happens to be, is simply a scaled down version of what we have here. Violence should only be used against violence that's coming directly towards you. It's never an argument winner. All it means is you failed to understand each other, or you simply do not want to. Neither one of these positions are ones that we should be taking. Take a pause, make better choices, and react to what is, not what you think.